Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Coding on Swiboe, the next generation text editor. Top of the show business today, the schedule for this week. We have a stream today, surprise, surprise, and we have a stream on Friday. We have no stream on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday because I'll be going to the expo in Milan, which I'm really excited about. So I'm not around. Sorry. Next week will be a regular streaming week with 5 streams per week, and the week after I'm traveling again, and who knows what the schedule will be. But for today and for Friday, the stream is good, and the rest of the week there is no stream. Second thing, Leandro reached out to me, and he was actually pitching his project, which is called Uizo. Here, so GitHub LTC Melo at and the project is called UAISO, and it's a language unifying source code modeling engine, and that's pretty cool. You should definitely check that out. And you should definitely check that out. He has a few videos of how it works. Essentially, what it is a like language agnostic semantic modeling engine for languages, if that makes sense. And what it would give us is stuff like semantic completion and maybe refactoring tools, and definitely understanding of source code, like source code parsing and so on. And he actually writes that in a like server fashion, so it should be very easy to integrate that with Swiboe. And maybe if our like cooperation goes forward, then that might be the default plugin that comes for understanding of languages. We'll see. We'll see. Nothing's decided yet, but definitely a very interesting project. Thanks for reaching out, Leandro. And the last thing that happened over the last few days is I had constant discussions with the dude on our GitHub chat about the Node.js client, and we ran into some issues with threading. So Node apparently tries really hard to be single-threaded unless you call something as async, which then goes into a thread pool. And the Swiboe client is of course not single-threaded, or what I mean not of course, but it is not single-threaded, right? The RPCs are handled in a separate thread, so that the main client is never blocking, and that doesn't quite mesh well together. But yeah, we'll figure it out in due time. Going forward, would be awesome to have a Node.js client. And I think that's it. Yes, that's it. All done. So what did we want to play today? I remember that I was pretty happy with all the handling of errors, right? All these are like first and foremost, I'm actually really happy with how the client turns out. Look at that. That's not even 20 functions, and everything that we need is well handled within that. That is really nice, right? It could be much, much worse, much, much longer, much, much more. And I'm really happy about that. But there was some functionality that we did not finish yet. So there was at least one no-com that we need to look into. Right, we actually need a function that lets us look into a Swiboe RPC error. And that will actually be a little longer, I guess. Or maybe not. Who knows? So how did we actually handle errors so far? So we have those errors which are CAPI errors. And now we need to have some support for RPC errors. So how will that look? So what do we have here? We actually have, what do we have? We have an error kind, right? It can be an unknown RPC, it can be an IO error, or it can be invalid args error. And this is actually the error that we return, right? It is either an error kind or it is a option, no, it is an error kind, and it might have details. So actually that would be pretty straightforward thinking about it. We need something like Swiboe unwrap, call RPC, wait, I'm sure there's unwrap somewhere. There we go. There we go. So we need something like this, right? But it should not be unwrap. It should not be unwrap, but it should be unwrap error. And what it takes is it takes an RPC result and it returns a feature. No, that's not what it does. Actually, it returns something like a new object, something like C API RPC result, right? That's what it returns, and it also takes a mutable pointer to a const pointer of a C char, and this is actually the details, right? We either fill them in or we don't. And now it should be straightforward. Of course, the C API RPC result, that is not yet defined, but that should be very straightforward. And actually, should that be? It's actually not a result, right? It's only an error kind, something like that. Something like that, and then we can say something like match. So match RPC result. Let error, something like this, right? What I want to do is basically we have this as a box, the RPC result, and we don't really care for the RPC result itself. We would like to have something like we have an like the error is RPC result unwrap error. Unwrap error, here it is, right? And this error type we can now match on, right? We can do something like match error kind, I guess, right? And here we would like to have a full, like, we would like to match on all cases, right? We must not miss any, so we actually have to copy all of these over and then have something like if it is this, return this constant, if it is this, return this constant, and so on. And how do we call our constants? So up here we had error disconnected, so let's call this here RPC error unknown, and here RPC error IO, right? That is symmetric to how we use them up here, so that's perfectly fine, I would say. And here we can say RPC error invalid args. Right? Right. And that is actually our return value, so we can put that at the very end. This we put at the very top so we don't forget. And now we need this details magic that I think we used that before, didn't we? No, apparently not. But I remember very clearly that we actually, what I'm looking for is that we pass in a pointer to a C string pointer, and we would like to assign that to something here. So we do that in receive. Right, in receive. We do exactly the same thing here. So we copy, like, let's copy this one over. Let's copy the whole thing and then we pass it into this correct place. Unwrap error. So basically here, this goes at the very top, right? We expect that details is not there's a null pointer at the very beginning, or no, that's fine. We basically expect that we get passed in a null pointer, and we then have to set the null pointer to something. And how does that work? We actually we already have a C, like we have the details, right? We can basically do something like RPC, like error details, and actually know that we can make it simpler. We can say if let some details. So if our errors has details, then we can create a C string out of that, and then we can unsafely assign the details to this one. Right? I think that's it. I think that's it. Now we only have to define those variables. We do that up here. Those are actually local errors, and those are RPC errors. Macro time, delete, find smaller than, add a const, find a comma, and this is a C API RPC error kind object, and this is equal to 0. Beginning of the line, end of macro, repeat. And of course 0 is not a good value because 0 is very often associated with no error. So let's do it like this. And now we say local results is better than local errors. And these are not RPC errors. Oh yeah, they are RPC errors. That's fine. Okay, and I think we're done. Let's read through the function again. Does it do the correct thing? So it unwraps an error, right? So it takes an RPC result, it takes a pointer, a mutable pointer to a const C char. That seems correct too. And it returns an RPC error, right? Then first we check that actually the details pointer that we get points to a current null pointer. So it is like a freshly allocated pointer object, right? And this goes here. And then we transmute our pointer that we get into a box so that we actually delete it. And then we unwrap the error out of that. So this will crash if it is not an error, which is perfectly fine because unwrap error like already contains the information that it will crash. Then we check if there isn't details in the error, and if there is a details, it is a asserted JSON value. So we actually have to make it, like we have to turn it into a string. So we have to do something like this. And I think it's perfectly fine to do an unwrap here because I don't know what could possibly go wrong here. So then we have a JSON string, and then we make a new JSON string object out of that. Also, like there's nothing that, like there's no recoverable error that we can have here, right? That should be valid UTF-8 by precondition from this function, and if something else fails, then nothing will save us, right? And then we assign the details pointer to this one. So that works. Really nice. And then we return a valid information, like a valid number that actually gives us information about which kind of RPC error we saw. Perfect. So back to Python. Let me copy that condition here, and then where's our unwrap function? Here, so we have a new function, and it's called library Swiboe RPC. Well, no need to write that out. Precisely. and it returns a RPC error kind, I would say, right? And that is actually exactly the same as a result. RPC error kind. And we have to copy over those error codes, unfortunately. And those here up here are not error codes, those are result codes, right? Okay, this goes away, this goes away, and this goes away, and the semicolons go away, and here we are. Here we are. Here's the unwrap, so the res type is RPC error kind. Yes, precisely, wonderful. And what does the library actually take? So it takes as archetypes. Of course, it takes a pointer to an RPC result. That is very clear. And then as second, it takes a pointer to a C char pointer, right? Right. And I think we're good. I think we're good. So here we can actually check the RPC result is not okay. So then we can say, okay, we have a details, and that is a C char pointer, which I actually have to say it's a C type C char pointer. And then we call self library Swiboe RPC result unwrap error, and that takes the call result and destroys it, and it also takes by ref the details object, right? Yes, I think that seems correct. And we also would like to check that the error that we get back is actually it is a Swiboe RPC error. Which one am actually? Which is the one that I'm actually throwing? Invalid arcs. Wait a second. Is it that seems that is not good. What I'm just realizing is that I actually, my RPC error values here, I actually have as strings, while my return values from my library I actually have as integer codes. So I wonder, should this maybe not take a string, but instead take one of those values? I think actually that's the case, right? We should not take a string pointer here. It's unnecessary when we have the integer types. So one no-com dies, but another one comes back. Change this to take integer values, right? I'm not even mad. That just happens occasionally, that you make a design mistake, right? So that should work, and now we can check, you know what, let's move that out and say RPC error code is this one. And then we can say this one is like so. Nice. We're getting there. And now we can also check assert equal details value. That should actually be the same as error details, right? So actually, let me add a no-com here, check UTF-8 encoding, right? Okay, and now this goes away, and we should be all golden. So if I actually make a cargo build now, we only change the C client, I think. This is wrong. 282, what do I do wrong here? All right, that's actually wrong, right? This actually has to be error details, and here it has to be error details too. That should be it. Pattern unknown RPC. That is RPC error kind. No, RPC error kind, like so, right? And getting there, now comes the moment of truth. Oh no! Oh, I test for the wrong thing. I'm testing for the wrong thing, right? It has to be invalid args because it says so. It doesn't have to be error IO. It has to be invalid args. And this actually has to be all of errors. So details needed foo got blah is not equal to details needed foo got blah. Well, I guess that's true, because the one is a string and the other one is a something else. Like so. And still not the same. Ugh. Maybe the other way around. JSON load string. Hello and welcome on stream, the real Mavane. He asks, or she, what are you trying to accomplish with this program / programs? We're writing a text editor. You can find all in our GitHub IAM and on my blog, which I post in stream chat real quick. You want to read the last 2 blog entries to get an idea what we're doing. And Swiboe, of course, you can find all about Swiboe in our repository, which I will find eventually. Here, it goes here. Okay, back to code. Why is it not working? Oh, it is working. Ah, that's great. That's always the best thing. So I would like to change the test a little bit to actually test Unicode encoding. So basically, where do I like needed foo got blah? Let's change that and say like needed fur, and let's see if it still works. And of course, it does not. And why is that the case? Because we don't encode properly, right? So actually, we take this error and then we dump it to a string, and I think that works perfectly fine. But here actually we have to say, well, details value, we have to decode that, and it is UTF-8, right? And now it should work again. But it doesn't. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Echo details value. That's really interesting, right? Why is it so long? Or maybe it is so long, I don't know. Am I making it, am I doing that wrong? Unicode equal comparison failed to convert both arguments to Unicode. Do I actually have to encode? Python string handling is always like a mystery to me. No, see, that can't work. So basically what I tell it is I have UTF-8 encoding in my values. So if I say the string is details value, now it is UTF-8, so I have to call decode on it, and now I should have a Unicode object, right? If I now print that out, it will complain, but it should work in general. Yeah, see, it works. It now says this is Unicode, and it says that is like, that seems reasonable too. That could be fur, right? And now if I go forward and say, well, now actually just go ahead and load the string like so. Then it is still unhappy. Do I actually have to say that this is Unicode too? Okay, so now I got it. Wow, that was hard. But then do I actually need to do the decode, or will that just work? No, it will just work. Great. Yeah. Okay. So it seems like our Unicode makes it through all of our code alive, which is nice. So we can move over. We can move over to the next one, the next NoCom, which is up here. The real Mavane asks in chat, who is the editor targeted to? HTML developers, C++ developers, everyone. So the target for this editor is myself. I have been a professional programmer for now like 5 years or something, and I have been programming for 25 years, and I'm a little frustrated with the state of current editors, mainly because they're old. Like, they have been designed in an age where design constraints were very different than the ones that we have today. So I need an editor that I can use for all my tasks every day. I don't write HTML, but I write C++, Go, occasionally JavaScript. I write Java. I program Android. I write ton of like design docs and stuff like that. So it has to be a pretty general purpose text editor. And once you target all of these HTML, you can also target HTML, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's first submit this as edit unwrap error function. Big Mac Dev asks, how is Rust? I really like Rust. It gives you a lot of like safety. So once your code compiles and runs, you're pretty confident that there are no terrible mistakes in there. I really like how it integrates also with other languages, like what we're doing right now. The C API is really easy. Like, it's really easy to write a library that conforms to the C API. So we can really easily call Rust code from other languages, which will make it very easy to add other clients to Swiboe once we have like nailed out this Python client. And sometimes, though, it feels really limiting what you can do with Rust, right? If I write C++, I know I bring up this thread, and this part of the class is never touched by this thread, and this part of the class is never touched by this other thread. And then basically you know that you're safe. In Rust, you cannot do that. You have to make everything really like explicitly thread safe, which is really, really good, right? It is really important for the next person who looks at the code to not need all the domain knowledge that you actually encode in C++ code, if it makes any sense. So what I'm saying is, sometimes Rust is less fun to program because it limits you so strongly in what you can do. But then again, that's a good thing for software that wants to grow, because it also like gives you a ton of safety, which makes it much easier to grow a program to many thousand lines of code. Yeah, so I want to change this one, right? Swiboe RPC error. I don't like at all that it takes a string. It actually should just take a error kind, right? And this error kind is called. It is an RPC C API RPC error kind. That's what I actually wanted to take. And then we can argue that we probably don't need this string stuff here anymore. We can just say, so this all goes away. And if we say, well, the kind here, actually we match on the error kind. And now we do the inverse matching, right? The question in chat is why I'm using C for what I'm doing. So right now we're not writing the server part of Swiboe. We are actually writing the client part of Swiboe, and we are constructing a C API because that is the most common denominator that will allow you to actually link to other languages. We cannot use C++ for that because C++ doesn't define a stable API. So if you have a C++ library, you cannot call it from Python, or you cannot call it from Objective-C or from Ruby or from Node or whatever, because the API, so the link, like how the functions are named and how the arguments are passed, is not stable. And yeah, that's the reason. So let's add a implementation for C API results error kind. Actually, that won't work, right? Because that is just a type alias. What I would like to do is do something like that and then say to, yeah, I don't know actually. What is it that I want? Actually, I would like something to RPC error kind, something like that, right? That actually takes a C API result error kind and returns an RPC error kind object. That's what I want. And then here I can say match kind, and it can be any of these. And RPC error kind, how are they called? Unknown RPC. Now I'm really wondering, I'm really wondering here, looking at this, that's not, I'm not really happy with that, because what I'm seeing here is the compiler cannot warn me if I match on something that is not yet defined. So if I add a new value here, this will actually not complain that I missed this value here. So I'm really unhappy about that. And I wonder if I actually can like get around by doing something like a Rust enum C packing, C repro. Let me just show you that. See, there's this repr C, right? Maybe I can do something like that. That would be pretty cool. So let me just copy that over, and we're not going to do it right now, but we're actually putting that down that we would like to try that. Now try this for the lists above, right? If we could actually somehow define it like that, then the compiler could actually warn us if we don't use all the defined values, and that would be really nice. So this is fine. Now we actually go back to here, and here we just say error kind to RPC error kind, and that takes an error kind like so, and that should be it, right? And now we only have, yeah, that should be it. That looks much better. So let's change the definition for that, so it doesn't take a C# pointer as first thingy, it actually takes an RPC error kind. And where are we using it? Only here, and now we are not using invalid args anymore. Instead we are using Swiboe RPC error invalid args, right? And that should build, and then it should run, and well, of course. So the compiler is complaining that I'm not checking all the values here because, it, as I just said, it cannot understand that. So actually here we add a unreachable for now. Okay, so that's the runs. And I think we're nearly done for today. We're already running for 35 minutes, so I'm trying to cut that short, but I would like to try this one out real quick. So basically how that would change is that I say I have a enum that should be represented as a C enum in memory, and it is called CAPI RPC error kind. And yeah, here it actually breaks down, right? Because I don't really know if I can tell it that it should be represented as an in32T. Rust repr C enum Yeah, seems like I have to do something like this, but then it's not repr C, but that's not really bad, right? So what I'm saying is that I say, well, this should be represented as an integer 32, and I think then it is still fine because I can just say, right, I never pass a like object of that kind in memory, or maybe I do, I'm not sure. Let's see what happens if I try to do that. Of course, that will give a ton of compile errors, but we can work around that. Let's stick with representing for C for now. Ugh. So this actually has then to be CAPI result error kind, and then this goes away. So that works, but in 304, of course, this doesn't work because here we also need CAPI error kind. Private type in exported type signature. Pop, and then actually, yeah, that's much better. We say represent that as an I32, and now it works. Of course, it complains about some sort of like that this is not camel cased, because in Rust it should be camel cased, but in C variables are usually not camel cased. So somehow we can turn that off. But let's first see if it still runs. Cool, it still runs. So then that's much better, right? Then we can actually just change this up here too, and say we have exactly the same here, local results, and that is also a repr of I32, and we call it pub enum C API results. Yes, just like that. The real Maven asks in chat why we are using a server-client architecture, and I suggest you read the RFC that is checked into our Swiboe repository, the first RPC that we have that describes why we are using this layout. And if you have any more questions, just file a ticket, because then it means that the RFC is not precise enough. Okay, this goes away, and then like so. And of course, this is all explicit, and the pub goes first. Oh, we already have that, but this then goes away, and like so. And I think we're nearly done. Apparently not. Well, wherever we use those successes, we now have to say RPC result. No, C API result. We have to be explicit, which is really nice, actually. And I think that's it. Yes. And if we run the tests, they still pass. And actually we can change, like this, the error kind, we don't actually need from string on to string anymore. At least I don't think that we use it anymore. So let's remove it for now and see if it still compiles. Actually, we have to build Swiboe too. I'm pretty sure that we only added that for like handling errors. And that still worked, so let's check out the C client, cargo build. That works too, great. So that's actually much nicer. We can get rid of this. This example we don't need anymore. We actually use that already. That was very simple to do actually, and I'm really happy about that. We changed that to take integer value. That is already done. So let's see, where are we? How many to-dos? One to do, and how many no-coms? Only documentation no-coms. Great, great. So we're nearly there. Yeah, but I think that's enough for today. We went for 45 minutes nearly. So no stream tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. Next stream is on Friday, as usually at 8 a.m. European time. And if there are any more questions, please post them now in the stream chat. And as always, after I submitted everything, I will stick around in the stream chat for a while longer. You can always find me in our Gitter chat too, which is gitter.im/swiboe/swiboe. And yeah, thanks for watching for sure. So what did we just do? We actually we did two things, right? We changed error code IDs from string to integer, and changed integer return values to be enums in Rust 2, so that the compiler can hold our hands better. And that's it. Cool. Let's push that. And so we did quite some commits today. No, that's the wrong one. Here, 2 commits today. So I'm posting the work we did on stream in the chat now. And with that, I'm out. Oh, there was a question. Sorry, I didn't see that. So how long do you think it will be until we can download, compile a version of this text editor? You can download and compile a version of this text editor right now. It is not useful. You cannot write text in it yet. So unless it is until it becomes useful, I think it will be another month or 2 or 3 maybe. I don't know. It depends on how much I work on it and how many people are contributing. I think that it will go rather quickly once we have a minimal viable product. We already have this Python client that is not pretty yet, but functional. And once we have this one, we will also very quickly have a Node.js client. Somebody is already working on that, the dude in our GitIM chat. And since the Python client will be a very good template for building other clients, and you can see that the Python client right now is 111 lines of code, so it will be very quick to add new clients. And once we have clients and you can write plugins for the editor in many languages, and it will be simple to do so, and we have tutorials, I believe that it will become a very good text editor in a very short amount of time. So I would say maybe 3 months until it becomes viable to use it as a text editor, and then maybe another year or so until it becomes a really, really solid text editor on the quality level of Vim or so. But as said, that is optimistic, and it depends on how many people will help out. And I think that's all the questions for now. I stick around in the stream chat, so if you have more questions, just ask me there. I see you everybody on Friday. Bye.